Hey, welcome to the latest version of Kill Your Gods. It is the KYG Y2K podcast, aka KYG Y2K, aka Why I Aughta, a podcast about the 2000s. And hopefully you were coming of age there, boomers and zoomers and millennials. I guess you have to be a millennial. Oh, could it just be the millennial podcast? I don't know. Guys, I'm your host, Jesse Duram. No, I am not trying to go deeper into Wolfman Jack Tory territory. Guess what, y'all? After 18 months of chasing me, that sumbitch COVID down caught me. That's right. I have COVID. It's okay. I'm fine. Mostly. I'm mostly just congested at this point. But yeah, COVID sucks. Don't get it. I did everything I could, and I guess my best was not good enough. But oh, I wanted to give you a little intro here before we did this. So yeah, this is the first. I mean, technically, fucking Boondock Saints falls in there, and Napoleon Dynamite from before. Point is, we're going to be a 2000s podcast for a little bit. So if you're listening for the first time and have no idea what this is, we started as I Hate Infinite Jest. Then we kind of flopped around for about a year, just went all over the place. There's good stuff on there. I recommend the QAnon episode. But yeah, this is the podcast that doesn't have a format. It fucking changes. So for now, 2000s retrospective. We will be talking about Van Wilder this week. Next week, we will be talking about Donnie Darko. Spoiler alert, fucking holds up. Really does. After that, I'm not sure. I might do a solo episode or two. I want to do a whole episode on school shootings. Really, just get into like if you came of age from 2000 to 2009, and a little bit before and a little bit after, this is going to be the podcast for you. We're going to get deep into your nostalgia. We're going to talk to some people who were there. I know a friend of mine was a pretty popular emo boy. Want to know what that shit was about? Because I wasn't it. I was a fat metalhead. I think I am too sick to think clearly and make a good, enticing podcast thing. But I'm back. We took most of December off, and I'm glad we did. But we're back. We're rejuvenated. We're going to be back on a regular schedule. Sometimes we'll drop on Tuesdays. Sometimes we'll drop on Mondays. You're going to get new content every week. The only way to stay up on it is to subscribe. Do yourself a favor. Share it. Like it. Rate it on iTunes. You could have rated on one of the other podcast list things, but it doesn't fucking matter. Oh, did you write me a good review on Castbox? Gee, thanks, Grandma. It's a thank you for the 5XL fucking sweater. But yeah, please do all those things. Follow me at Jesse Dram. Guess what? I have shows coming up. They're all getting canceled because of COVID. So you're going to be stuck inside with me for all of 2022. And we're going to think about better times when fucking emo kids roamed the landscape and a fucking Russell Crowe movie could come out any minute if you weren't being careful. This is the KYG Y2K podcast, aka Why I Ought to, an early 2000s. I'm going to go have COVID. Bye.
Hello and welcome to the Kill Your Gods podcast, or whatever I have renamed it right now. I am your host, Jesse Dram, and this may be the first of several. Well, actually, it's not the first of several because we've done a few episodes pretty much on this topic. We're doing early 2000s nostalgia now. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We started with Boondock Saints, and now we're going to Van Wilder. And my guest for this new unnamed podcast, I'm leaning toward why I ought to, but I don't think that's good for terms.
No, no, that's bad.
Yeah, Andy Lane, everybody, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, people that like Jesse? Internets. Do your fans have names?
No, I've changed formats too many fucking times. Like they could have been Hades at first when I talked about David Foster Wallace. I read another book by him over Christmas break, and God, I just do not like that man's fucking writing style at all. Do you have any authors you particularly hate?
Oh, Dan Brown. I don't particularly read like stuff from people that I didn't like the first time, but you're like going on like a beach read thing, so you just need a book that's just kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, it's well done, but it's a page turner. It's kind of schlocky. And he did Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code. Um, then he did Inferno, which was a sequel to both of them, and very apropos for the pandemic times. So this came out like 2014, 2015, and here's the plot. I mean, all of his books, if you've read them, it's a mystery, but it's really just he wants to jerk off about Renaissance art history the whole time.
Okay.
That's all it is. That's why the guy's an expert in symbology. The main character and all that. But in Inferno, there's a guy who's obsessed with Dante and is also obsessed with the world's population. So they're fighting to stop him from releasing a disease that will make much of the world sterile, to reduce the population. And the whole book, you're going, man, oh man, are they going to stop him? How are they going to stop him? And at the end of the book, it turns out the whole time that they got the timing wrong on like one of the early clues. So he actually released the disease like 3 weeks ago.
Oh no.
Yeah. So now 1/3 of the world's population is going to be sterile. But then all the main characters are like, and you know what? In the long run, that's probably pretty good. And that's the end of the book.
Oh wow.
The fuck out of here. The fuck out of here, Dan Brown. So, write 9 pages about a door that was, made with inlaid gold in 1400s.
We will almost certainly be covering the Da Vinci Code on here. I was trying to think of early 2000s topics. Listeners, feel free to write in. All I have so far, I have like school shootings, Britney Spears, boy bands. I really want to talk about the 2000 election. I don't know if anybody will find that interesting except for me. But
there have only been about 1 million books written about that one, so you should find an audience for that one.
I mean, it's not like it's an applicable lesson now more than ever. I mean, that's never the case. I certainly haven't read that in every fucking headline in the last 12 months. But anyway, so we're gonna actually, you know what? Just for reference here, I am just to kind of place where we are in this era. I am class of 2005. I'm currently 35 years old. Where are you in that?
You talk about high school or college?
You're in high school or college that area?
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 2004.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out where you were as we're all simultaneously experiencing this culture as it happens.
I mean, I don't know, I feel like this whole era of movies and culture in general kind of kicked off with American Pie. Yes. And I want to say I was in like 6th or 7th grade when that came out. And and it was just, I mean, that kid fucked a pie and the world changed for me and my friends.
Oh God. Much like some people are like, I remember the first time I heard the Beatles, it was like from going black and white to color. And for you, like when he stuck his dick in that pie, that was when my 60s began.
Yeah, pretty much. No, that's exactly right. That and like the Blink-182 Enema of the State album. I mean, seminal moments in my youth.
Both of which I've done an episode on pop punk in general before. I do think I need an episode just on Blink-182. American Pie, there were just so many movies of that caliber, even if that was like the big swinging dick of them all.
A million. It was a return of like the teen sex comedy, but like, I mean, just totally different than a lot of the ones from the 80s that people remember, like the John Hughes movies, which weren't really teen sex comedies. They were just sort of like almost like teen ensemble rom-coms, I guess.
Right. Yeah, they had a lot more. Well, yeah,
they had darkness and edge. They weren't really rom-coms, but there was romance and comedy,
right,
and all that. Whereas this is more almost like what if Porky's didn't have such a big ensemble cast? It's
funny. I was just I was discussing with my wife and my wife who's mad at me right now and some of her friends yesterday the movie Promising Young Woman, and we were actually discussing how kind of fucked up like the media was like with sexual morals at the time in the 2000s, and especially with shit like American Pie, where it does feel that like a lot of what the media was telling me back then was like, how am I going to trick this woman into having, and not even trick, but like clearly this woman would not want to have sex with me. But if me and my buddies are all going to lose our virginity by the prom, like I might have to do some daring do to convince her, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's Trick. Trick was definitely the 80s, like Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh,
remember that? Where it's fully on like, I'm tricking you, and everyone's like, yes, this is good.
Yep.
Whereas they'd gotten away from that.
I'm pretty sure the sequel they get married. I mean, it worked.
Yeah,
out
they
for
do.
them.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's more just like, God, these chicks know what they're doing and they don't want to give it up. So we gotta trick them. We gotta ensnare them like some sort of animal.
Mm-hmm. I need to convince her, like, maybe I'll join the choir too, and she'll be like, "Ooh, maybe I do want that dick inside."
Yeah. Me. Well, I don't think the snaring an animal is good. It's almost like chess, where you're thinking 3 moves ahead, and you're doing, all right, we're gonna do the Ruy Lopez Open, and then we're just laying an elaborate trap for the 12th move sequence of the game, and that's when I get pussy.
That's right. Pussy chess. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's pussy chess.
I'll tell her I need tutoring, and then she'll fall in love with me. But I'm not even in that class.
She knows that I'm vulnerable, but I'm also trying, and that's an admirable thing.
Poor fucking women. I can't wait for that sex episode. So I will say there's a lot of fucked up shit in Van Wilder, and I don't want to be like a woke gotcha podcast, although it is fun to look back, like the entire character of fucking Taj. But
yeah.
I will say,
was very funny, but uncomfortable. And I have to say, I admire his commitment to the role. There's 2 actors in this movie that do an incredible job with just absolute nothing. Just absolute nothing. And one is Kal Penn that plays Taj.
Yeah. And Kal Penn, by the way, having recently come out of the closet as gay, makes his acting in this all the better. Like,
I think it actually explains a couple of things about this movie.
Yeah.
Like, there's an intensity to it, but there's nothing. There's lifelessness behind those eyes. Just nothing but blind intensity.
He doesn't want to munch pink tacos as much as he says.
Yeah. He talked about that a lot, which also another admirable thing. Because I think we were still in the time period where there's a significant percentage of like adult American men that were like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. What do you think?
Hey, 2000s
touching it with my mouth.
Yeah, I kissed my mother with that mouth.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and then Taj is just like, his entire explanation of his character, his only motivation in the movie is to be friends with Van and then to mush his face in there.
All about it. Again, 2000 sex comedies definitely made, because if it's a very big plot point in American Pie that you better know how to munch. You better be able to munch on Tara Reid, who also was in this movie.
Dude, that I didn't even know you could feel pressure about that, and then I saw that part of the movie and I went, oh fuck,
I have something else to feel inadequate about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the pressure to like, I gotta figure that out somehow. Like, sex in your teen years, especially if you're not having it, which I was not. I was a very late bloomer. Absolutely, so much pressure you put on yourself at all times. Like, I remember watching like some HBO documentary about Cobain and his like journals from his teen years, and literally all his angst was like, no one's gonna fuck me. It's like, dude, you're 14. You don't think that like this is something that has happened to literally 99.99999% of people that live on this planet. They figure out a way to make it happen relatively consistently. Just relax.
But dude, think about that.
You don't even need to try.
You were at your absolute horniest when you're 13 years old, maybe a little earlier or later, and all of a sudden the engines rev up, and then nobody will fuck you for like 4 years, depending on where you are in your particular geography.
Depending on if you're tall or not.
Yeah.
If you're tall early on, there's a pattern I've noticed between guys that are like, I was like 6'1" when I was 14, and it's just happening earlier for them.
See, I was tall. I was also fat. I was like 300 pounds up until I was 17, which when I was floating on Facebook ideas for other early 2000s topics, a mutual friend of, I'll just say it, Jay Simpson, commented like, oh yeah, 03 to 07 was like a jizz festival for me. Like, yeah, I would have hated you if you were having a jizz festival. I was having a jizz poorly attended poetry slam night. Like, I got a little bit and I was appreciative. I could have gotten so much more.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone was at that age is having a jizz festival. It's really just like, how sparse is the attendance?
Yeah,
you know.
Oh, jizzing is we got jizz running on the clock like a well-oiled jizz machine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, God, I was just thinking back. I knew this one weirdo who was like, he bragged about how much, and he's like, "Yeah, I track it." It's like,
wait. Are we talking how often, or is he tracking his like volume?
Oh, volume.
Oh, his output. Okay.
Yeah. He was a big contributor to me going to my mom and being like, "Yeah, I think I just don't want to be in Boy Scouts anymore. Just the people that are still in, it's just, I don't know. There's something about them."
That's the road to Eagle Scout is paved with awkward cum stories.
Oh, dude, you have no idea how. I'm not going to go into that at all.
All right, well, here's what we can do. We can get into this movie. So, a little bit of background. It is a 2002 starring vehicle for Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he had a bunch of those.
He has not stopped playing this character ever since.
Yeah, it's him the whole time. The only time I've seen him actually act, I think, was there was a movie. It was like a romantic comedy, but he has like a single dad daughter. He's a good dad. He's explaining who her mom is. But he had a million of these movies in this like 10-year period where it's like, all right, I'm the star. The budget is roughly $30 million. Let's see how many of these we can triple up our money, Hollywood. And he did it a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, he did it. Waiting was pretty big.
Waiting was a good movie.
I'm trying to think what were the other. They tried to pull off Green Hornet for him, but
yeah,
that didn't happen.
I mean, it's I could pull up his IMDb history right now, but I'm not. Look at how I'm dressed. I'm not putting effort in.
I'm going to do that. Stall and talk about Ryan Reynolds for a second.
Oh God, I just remember the movie. I can't remember the name of it. You'll look it up in a second. But the opening shot was like an Apple ad basically for the movie. It's just him walking down the street to work, and he's wearing AirPods. But it's like 2009, and probably just like 2 years ago to the market. But they were trying to make it happen then, and it was just him grooving out on his iPod with his wireless earbuds.
All right, so
and I just good stalling on my part.
Hell yeah. Fuck, I actually already forgot what it was. So all right, we have Van Wilder. Has a cameo in Harold and Kumar. I actually forgot that.
Oh yeah.
Definitely playing the same character in Blade Trinity.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
He got to be in that movie with Triple H, the professional wrestler. Yes. Just Friends. I was trying to remember the movie where he's in a fat suit.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a good movie too.
It's not bad.
It's one of many with God, who is that actress?
I have to look it up. Deadpool. That's the one I kept forgetting. I so don't give a shit about superheroes. But yeah, he is definitely Van Wilder is Deadpool. That is 100% who that is. Nothing's really changing.
Yeah, 100%.
And the girl in this movie is Amy Smart. Loved Amy.
Yeah,
Smart.
Amy Smart.
Road Trip. What a cute. So, I don't know if you know this. Do you know that this movie rips off the life story of Bert Kreischer?
I did know that. And the fact that the producers just looked at it and went, all right, what is our budget? Can we shoot in Russia? Let's just cut out the machine story to the entire thing.
Oh yeah, that's the whole hidden sequence. I think that's a bonus on the DVD. So,
yeah, when you factor in that, like, they based it off of that one, was it Maxim magazine interview with him?
It was Rolling Stone.
Rolling Stone. Honestly, other than just the coolest guy at a big school, like, there's probably a bunch of guys that you could like, all right, it's Hollywood, so we're going to turn off the volume on all the character traits. There's probably been 10,000 to this guy.
Oh yeah. So a little background for those unaware: Bert Kreischer is a famous comedian now, but in like 1997, Rolling Stone wrote an article on him as he was attending Florida State University as the number one party animal in the country. So what happened was the college itself was declared the number one party school. So they were going to do a story on that, but then they saw how charismatic he was and they made it all about him.
Yeah.
So the allegories, he was there for 7 years. Yeah, his life story was optioned by. Do you know who optioned it? Of all fucking
I don't.
people?
Please tell me it was Tucker Max.
No, that would have been better, but it would have been more fitting. Of all people, his life story was optioned by Oliver Stone.
What?
Yeah, Platoon, Born on the 4th of July.
I thought you were going to say Weinstein. I thought it was going to be a Weinstein all the way.
This would be a better movie if Weinstein were behind it. The man was good at two things: sexual assault and making great movies.
What was Oliver Stone doing? Was he had just made Alexander the Great gay, and then he was like, all right, people definitely didn't like that. How am I going to come back from this? Guy who gets lots of tail.
That's right. Which is funny. He doesn't get, for one thing, all right, for one thing, in the original article about Bert Kreischer being a party animal, you would think a party animal is getting a lot of pussy, but he's like very portrayed as like, no, I'm in a long-term relationship. And having listened to his podcast enough, I know the girl he was with at the time eventually gave him chlamydia and after cheating on him and then broke up with him. And even Van Wilder's not really like, he's getting some action here and there, but he's not.
He's very rob from the rich and give the tits to the poor.
Yes, because the poor need your tits, people.
Yes. Well, I think it's actually a really great example of the movie. It's like, look, you just need someone to put you in your sweet spot. 14-year-olds, if you're listening to this, someone's going to have sex with you. Hopefully, they're either also 14 or you're just older. But like in the movie, there's lots of nerds. There's guys with giant eyebrows and no muscle structure. There's people that don't know how to talk when a girl's in the room, and they all end up with really hot women. You know why? Because sometimes you trip and it happens.
That's right.
Just relax. And let a man with a chiseled jawline give you confidence.
Oh God. See, it does bother me a little bit though that they take the character of Bert, schlubby frat guy, and he gets replaced by, ripped six-pack Ryan Reynolds. It's like
young Ryan Reynolds.
That's right. I fucking party, I booze, and then I do a lot of crunches.
And again, he doesn't do that in the movie, but he's,
I mean, he's not going to class. He has time to do these things, I guess.
Yeah. Although here's the thing with the movie, they do it well. Like, do you like the part where his dad, so Van Wilder has a thing where he'll like give little one-liner wits and wisdoms out, and then he'll just say, write that down. And you're like, okay, that's a funny little thing. And then you meet his father, who's a very successful, much like Bert Kreischer's father, business guy. And you meet him, and then he says something else that's very, wise manish, here's some good advice for you, kiddo. And then he just looks at a guy and goes, write that down. You're like, oh, okay. I see this. They're like the same person, but just slightly different. Oh
yeah, no, it's not a bad movie in any respect. I also think the casting in this movie is great because, like, Tim Matheson obviously was an Animal House,
outstanding, and it's a nice little wink at it too.
And that's the other thing. I feel like if this movie were made today, they would overdo it. Like they would. The principal from Breakfast Club is in this. He's one of the professors. And at no point do they feel the need to I got you for the rest of your natural born life. Like, no, he's just there. We recognize his face. That's all that needed to be done.
Yeah, it's a subtle little wink. You didn't see it, but your brain did. I felt they put Tara Reid, who is not the best actress, but this was the peak of her career, but not the peak of her. And they put her in a nice spot. They made her look good. They didn't ask too much of her. No, American Pie, no chance.
Yeah.
No. This is after she discovered tanning, and it just got a little too much.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's continue with the break. The movie opens very, very weird. That we open on Suk Mi, the old Asian lady who is blowing him, but is just tailoring his outfit.
Yeah, it looks. You think she's doing that, but no, she's just doing valuable work.
Yeah.
A trade.
She's applying her trade, sucking on a lollipop.
Yeah.
Suk Mi is still a bit out there. There's a kid threatening to jump off the roof who is the Shermanator from American Pie, because these movies really swap people around.
Was that him? I didn't think that was him.
I think that was the Shermanator. I believe so.
Well, good for him getting to work.
Yeah. Van is not wearing pants, but he shows up to talk him down, give him some confidence. So here's a lot of my questions for today. I didn't go to a real college. I went to a community college, which hilariously, my dad did not understand the difference because he didn't even go to community college. I remember I was 19 and I was dating a girl from my old high school, and my dad was like, "You should be fucking these college girls. What are you doing running around with that?" Like, Dad, I don't think this school is filled with single mothers and, you know, addicts. I don't know what you're thinking.
Sorry, as I walk over here to stir our chili for dinner.
That's fine. Stir away.
Yeah.
So the question is there a lot of suicide in college? That is some in your experience.
Not in my personal experience, although there's more than you'd think, but especially at larger schools where kids tend to get lost. That is the reason why, if you go to a lot of college dorm rooms, the windows don't open all the way.
Really?
Yeah, for institutions and almost any sort of a dorm setting, it's a pretty standard thing where the windows either fold out a little bit or they only go up this much, because if someone can get it open, they're more liable to jump, I believe, is the prevailing theory. But if you have to like take a chair and smash it,
right? They said if you put like a minor inconvenience to somebody killing themselves, they just
the likelihood they actually go through it. Yeah, there's also the fact that if they just break the glass to get through it, well, in their head, they're not thinking about death; they're thinking about getting cut, which is physical pain, not the end of emotional whatever. So they're just less likely to do it. But it happens frequently enough. It happened, I would say, about once a year when I worked downtown.
I know my cousin had a friend who like jumped out of a window, but I had no idea how common that was.
It's very common, especially for young men, to have like panic attacks, especially at that age, between 18 and 24, and when you're living a life without a lot of structure, which a lot of kids, when they first get to college, it's completely unstructured. I mean, I went from a boarding school where I had rigid structure from, 7 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And I remember going to college for the first time and just someone going, we were still in orientation for like the first weekend. And we had, I don't know, some assembly thing where there was going to be like a musician playing, I don't know, Dave Matthews Band ripoffs. And I was like, oh, we got to go over there. And someone was like, I'm not going to go there. And I was like, wait, what? I just so wasn't used to that in an educational setting. And that can really fuck with people, I think, and can lead to, panic attacks. And that leads to people jumping off of, buildings from their apartments. Their parents buy them so they can go to Penn.
Which, especially that they started at home before all this. So it's like they're also living in a completely new space.
Yeah.
Okay, so Van is holding auditions for an assistant. We get a fun little hodgepodge here. We get to see a male cheerleader stereotype, a stoner stereotype, a kung fu guy stereotype. I don't know.
This movie's heavy on the stereotypes.
Oh yeah. Well, we get a tranny, which I'm using the terms of the time, which is really because it's like hottest woman ever model, but despite clearly putting all this effort into transitioning, when it comes to speaking, he's like, "Hi, my name is Terry," and of course they jump back because that's gross in 2002.
Yeah, just the ham-handedness of a lot of that stuff is like, all right, that's not great. But I'll say the movie's funny. It's funny. Yeah. That stuff is like, all right, whatever. But like, the other things, like the classic, there's a bulldog in the movie. The bulldog still has its balls. You see the bulldog walk away. The ball's gigantic. And it's foreshadowing in a way. Huge balls, and you're like, that's good. I like that.
Those are Chekhov's bulldog balls because they play into the movie.
Oh yeah.
We meet, as he's looking for assistance, we meet Taj, who is Kal Penn, very, very horny Indian man.
But buttoned up, but he's wearing sweater vests.
Which, as again, as bad as it is, he's doing the accent, and I think I think I remember in like the commentary, he mentions like, oh yeah, no, my family wouldn't talk to me for a while for the whole accent thing. They thought it didn't make us look good. At the same time, it is a pretty to see an Indian actor being that high on the billing, and he
That was
has
the first time seeing it.
Yeah, well, he has the stupid accent, but honestly, him being Indian is not really the butt of the joke a lot of the time.
No, it's not.
It's more about him being horny.
Yeah, the joke is always he's horny and does not make it happen. But also at the end, you get this like thing where he's a great friend and a really loyal guy, and he looks like a great person. So it's actually like, aside from the accent, like a pretty positive portrayal.
Oh yeah. It's a little bit of a bummer at the ending where he hooks up with the only other Indian person in the movie because
but she is very hot.
She's very hot, and she seems
like a nice lady. No,
never. So along with the balls and Taj, we also meet Tech Holmes, famous from Real World Hawaii.
Yeah,
which I think this is the only movie he ever acted in.
Yeah, this was a thing that they tried for a little bit, where they were like, people who are popular in reality TV shows, let's make a movie stars. Like the love interest for Rob Schneider in The Animal was someone who took like 4th on the first season of Survivor.
Oh shit.
And yeah, they got away from it really quickly. And fun fact, my wife, because we're super cool, we're watching the MTV's The Challenge, but the All Stars. So it's people that are like our age or older doing these like challenge shows. So they're all coming back and they're all like, mom and dad bodied people. Tech shows up for the season and he is dressed to the nines, like colorful suit, the whole thing. And it's very evident in the first season of this. He's like, this is my comeback, man.
Oh no.
Oh, it's rough. And they do a nice job editing him so he doesn't embarrass himself. But yeah, it was like he shows up and he's doing like the thing with the mustache where he's like, hey, what's up? Oh yeah, I'm still fly and all that shit, and everyone else just look around like, we are 100 pounds heavier than we were the last time we were on this fucking show. Give it up, dude. You're not gonna fit in here. And I think they kick him out like the first week.
Oh god. See, here's the thing though. I think somebody like Tech, like if they got, you and I as comics know how like you get like a lot of these YouTubers that'll come through and they'll do like the comedy clubs. You could easily get a fucking old, like, I think if Puck from the Real World decided I'm a stand-up comedian now, he'd sell out. People would want to hear those stories.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're describing Theo Vaughn. Like,
well, he became a kind of comic, if not, I'm saying the guys who barely, but like, this is just a venue for me to shoot the shit because this is my only real value.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, there was a wave of pro wrestlers doing it for a while, and that was universally like they had to like strip it back and just be like, we'll use the venue as a comedy club, but this isn't stand-up comedy. We're gonna put some chairs up there, and it's more of a one-man show with a question and answer feature because it was. I mean, Mick Foley did it for a while. I've never seen anyone that went to that and was like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Mick Foley is famously like one of the nicest people you can meet. I met him at a meet and greet before a stand-up thing. And man, I did not have a good experience with him. He was
really,
yeah, he was kind of a dick, and it's a bummer. But
well, if anyone was going to have that kind of luck, Jesse, I just knew it was going to be you.
Yeah, that's great. I only have like 3 heroes. Only 2 of them are dead. It stands to reason that one of them would just be a jerk to me. So
it could be worse. Jeff Rozier, a friend of ours. Used to love Dimitri Martin, and then Jeff is like, yeah, I told him a joke, and then he like started doing it, and it ended up in his hour.
What?
Yeah,
dude, Jeff is one of my best friends in comedy. I do not know that story.
Yeah, he told us we were driving to I don't know, some suburban gig, maybe 5 years ago. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you don't hear about Dimitri Martin much these days. Anyway, before we get too far,
can't imagine why.
Final main character we meet is Tara Reid, Gwen. She works for the school newspaper. Her boss, Tom Everett Scott, who is too good for this movie. You guys would remember
very
him
much
from That Thing You Do. and actually came to mind when we were talking about Suicide, Dead Man on Campus. He was
That's
great in
right.
that movie. But he assigns her to do an expose on Van Wilder. She runs into him at a party where pretty much Van's dad catches him at a party, finds out that he's still 7 years in college, and yeah, we get our inciting action. He's going to lose his funding for college,
and that becomes the whole motivation for all the characters in the movie. Tara Reid is she's a real tough cookie, nose to the grindstone, no nonsense.
Not too happy about having to do a story on this slacker.
Not too happy, and I actually like how she played it, because it was not like what we get a lot now, where it's like, I'm actually like a girl boss, so I'm always in a ball gown and my nails are good. No, she's just like, hey, I'm a professional. I'm doing my professional BS, and I want to do this knucklehead story, but I'll take it seriously in the process. That was a nice thing.
Right. Yeah. It could be there's asbestos in the dorms, and co-eds are getting picked off left and right. I really,
there's always asbestos in the dorms.
Yeah. I was gonna go for a Pulitzer. Like, nah, I want you to write about this guy who drinks a lot. Oh, okay. That'll get me a Peabody, I'm sure. We also get another old school cameo. The head security guard is Booger from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, I thought that was really nice. He had like a little career renaissance around this time, and I think I saw an interview with him once where he's like, "Yeah, I'm just happy for the work, and I'll do whatever they want. I like performing, and they asked me to, schlock it up a little bit, so I'm going to schlock it up."
Dude, not too long after this, he was in the Ray Charles biopic playing legendary record producer Ahmet Ertegun, and he does fucking great in it. Yeah, he's like Ray Charles' main guy in showbiz. But anyway, out of those old 80s slob versus snobs like teen movies, which were your favorites?
I didn't enjoy a lot of them. I mean, they used to play a lot of them on Comedy Central when I was a kid, but like all the John Hughes stuff, I never liked them that much. I don't know. I maybe I just didn't get exposed to them that much.
I think most of the ones I saw were on Comedy Central after middle school and high school. They would always be on.
Yeah, like Porky's, I thought was really funny because it was just like a group of guys having fun, and I would watch it like on Comedy Central, so you didn't see any like the crazy, just like we're showing 97 tits in one scene sort of stuff. It was just raunchy American boys having a good, clean American fun, and I liked Porky's, and I like a lot of those 80s ones. I didn't really like. Revenge of the Nerds didn't appeal to me at all. I didn't get it.
I mean, not to be on brand with my darkness and negativity and morbidity, but my favorite from that era is definitely Better Off Dead, where John Cusack basically attempts to kill himself for an hour and a half. But also Booger is in that as his friend. Also featuring famous Nickelodeon pedophile Dan Schneider as
really.
Yeah, he's Ricky. He's the fat kid who.
Okay, of course he is. Better Off Dead is pretty good. I didn't love it, but I was like, I get what they're doing here, and I like this.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like John Cusack as a brooding guy.
Same. I feel like John Cusack. I feel like his younger movies are the best.
Well, I think anything after Grosse Pointe Blank is probably not great, but like Grosse Pointe Blank, High Fidelity, two phenomenal movies in the 90s, where he's just like, I'm sad. I'm well read. I'm sad.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
It's right.
Slight brag. I know the feeling when you're well read, but also sad. Yeah.
I mean, hey, knowledge does not bring happiness. We know that. Knowledge is power. It is not joy.
That's right. That's right.
So we meet our last major character, Tara Reid's dickhead pre-med frat master boyfriend, Richard.
Whoever the actor is that play this guy crushed it. This is such a nothing part, and he delivers.
Oh yeah, he goes extra over the top. Real shitbag. And if you watch the bloopers at the end of the movie, he seems to be like having fun.
Oh yeah. You've done wrestling shows, right?
Yeah.
Being a heel's the most fun, and he legitimately gets you to hate him in a way that's so great, where he is so, everyone knew that guy who was just taking their career way too seriously as an undergrad, like just all this stuff, being in a frat and like taking the frat stuff too seriously. Every frat had that guy.
I was gonna ask, were you in a frat?
I was not in a frat. I went to school that was very frat oriented. I did marry a sorority girl, not bragging. But I did play on the rugby team, and we had similar things in terms of initiation and stuff like that. But we weren't a frat. We had our own house to live in.
Is there any reason you didn't do a frat? I could see you getting into that.
I got a few people after, like later on, like all the frat pledging, like it happened like the first 3 weeks of school, and I was coming from like boarding school with no girls, so I was already just like trying to handle that. Like even just like how to carry myself. Because like when I was in high school, my dad used to like laugh at us. We'd go to track meets. We weren't allowed to talk to the girls at the track meets, but we had from the time the track meet was over until we got back to the bus, that walk. And my dad was like, those guys swarmed, and a lot of them came back with a lot of little pieces of paper with phone numbers on it. I was not one of those guys. But I wasn't used to girls being around, so I was trying to handle that. And I was also on the wrestling team, and we were already starting to like drop weight for the season. So I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm going to be an All-American, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I missed all the rushing, and that's where you like develop those things. And I also was honestly too socially awkward for anyone in the frat to be like, yeah, we'll let this guy in. Absolutely. So by the time that all happened, like I remember looking up and being like, wait, everyone's in these fucking things right now, and I'm like just getting to the first wrestling match of the year. Like, fuck. But rugby functioned a little bit similar in the structure with like the initiation and
own kind of thing.
Yeah, and when I got to be my class got to be in charge, we got rid of the whole like you're gonna be our bitch for a year. We're just like, we're not gonna do that anymore. We'll just make your life suck for one night. But
you guys came in as like the real progressive, like the civil rights of the wrestling team.
Not even. The wrestling team didn't do that. The wrestling team was what you were good.
Oh, you said rugby. Okay.
Yeah, rugby. The wrestling team was you're good. We're gonna beat the fuck out of you. And I wasn't good. I got to be okay. They beat the fuck out of me. It made me much better though. But yeah, rugby was. We were just we like playing and we like partying, and we'll torture you for a night. Allegedly.
I feel like that is the best way to go about it. And I don't know. I missed out. Well, number one, I was at a community college, so I did not join any kind of that would be a fun community college frat.
Yeah, God, that'd be so sad. It's like these are gonna be the next 2 years of your lives.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have to use Korean letters because we can't afford Greek. But for the time, I was also hilariously still carrying a little bit of that high school fucking rebel thing. I was very anti-frat. Like I remember I was at a party because I hung out with a bunch of kids who went to Temple. I just was not personally enrolled there. And I remember a girl at a party asking like, "Oh, are you in a frat?" And I said, my response was, "Actually, no, I can make friends on my own." And
oh God, you sucked so bad.
Yeah. You think I have a chip on my shoulder now? Like fucking 19-year-old Jesse Dram, just like.
And yet, kids, another example. That was his opening pitch at a girl when he was 18 or 19. And I've met Jesse's wife. I know for a fact she has had sex with him. It's gonna happen. All right.
That's right, guys. If
just
I can
chill.
You keep making me think of my cousin who is almost 40 and still hasn't gotten laid. But aside from him, he didn't try. He didn't want it enough.
He doesn't want it enough. No. There's got to be one in every 10,000.
Yes.
But those are good odds.
Yeah. Oh, we get another cameo that's not really a cameo. Aaron Paul. I say it's not a cameo because he's not famous yet. He's just a working actor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's in there. His whole thing is he calls Van the raddest dude in the world. And later in the movie, he says the same thing again.
That's right.
And this time, the person he says it to agrees with him.
That shows character growth, I think.
Yeah, no, we're coming full circle here.
That's right. We get to see Van seduce an older lady authority figure. The direct quote I have here, as she takes off her wig, is "Shut up, bitch, and give me some sugar."
Yeah, that was
horny old ladies, very popular in this era of film.
They're. I mean, that's what Kristen Chenoweth's doing with her later career, and that's so sad for Galinda the Good Witch, but it's a trope forever. You know why? Because it's always going to be funny to a number of people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, I read Benjamin Franklin's biography, and one of the fucking really smutty advice he gives is like, if you need to choose a mistress and must choose between older or younger, always go for the older. And he lists these reasons, and one of them is like, he basically says like, women age from the toes up, so like it won't get to that for a while. And then he puts like, they're really discreet, they're experienced. And then his final thing that he has, Benjamin Franklin's reason on why to fuck old ladies, they're so appreciative.
God, I never actually finished. I'm assuming you're talking about the autobiography.
It's not the autobiography. It's the
okay.
I don't.
I had to read his autobiography in school once, and I got to him writing about when he was like 9, and I was like, "What a piece of shit! I got to put it down." And I just faked it for the rest of the semester on that one.
What did he do when he was 9 that made you?
The thing I always remember was he was talking about how he was so much smarter than everyone else from a young age in terms of the allocation of resources. And there was a big pile of stones that was going to be built into a newlywed couple's house the next day. Like the townsfolk were going to come together, and they were going to get the mortar together, just like an old fashioned like barn raising sort of thing, but with stones and mortar. And they're going to build like a small house for this family. It's their starter house on this farm. And he was like, "This is bullshit, but I could use a fishing pier." So he took all the stones in the middle of the night and threw them one by one out into this river, until he had himself a little fishing pier built out there of stone. And everyone came the next day, and he was like, "Look who did you one better, eh, guys?" And he was like, "I can't believe they thought I was an asshole." And he did that when he was 9, and he was like 80, still writing about it with all of his life behind him. And he was like, "No, I was still right about that one."
Hey, I mean, some of us peak at 9. Clearly, Benjamin Franklin would have traded all the liberty and French ladies.
I would argue that Ben Franklin peaked while he was inside some 90-year-old French countess. Woo!
Man, yeah, they try to make the founding fathers out to be like such fuddy-duddies. Meanwhile, they're a bunch of like atheist fucking slaves and whatnot.
I can't remember who said it. They were talking about, like, he was talking to some guy from the 50s. And I guess the guy said it to him. I think Bill Burr said it, where he was like, this guy looked at me and goes, "Every generation thinks they're the first generation that fucked." It's like, nah, they all did it. All of them. Everyone. They might not have been as open about it, but they were all doing it. Every one of them, exactly as much as we are. Just chill. All right?
Yeah. Keep it on the DL. Speaking of interesting sex acts, and again, this would be I will say something positive. Every scene in this movie, no matter how dumb it is, has something very memorable in it. Van takes his final $34 to the strip club. It has a weird ice theme. Nobody cares, but they build a tower out of the $34, and a hot stripper farts the house of dollars over, which Van then exclaims to Taj, "Congratulations, your first blowjob." That's just funny. In addition to horny old ladies, farting hot chicks, very big.
Yeah, I feel like that was in like some writer's like sketch packet for SNL that didn't get used, and he was like, "I'm putting this to good use."
All right, so Gwen meets Van. She wants to do a scoop. He doesn't want the publicity. But while this is happening, we get the first nerd frat. They reach out on their own to Van, saying it's their frat's 75th anniversary. We want to throw a really cool party to show we're not lame. Amongst them is Unibrow guy and one of the dudes from Big Bang Theory, who is nobody at this time. Yeah, so they throw a roller boogie disco nights party. Van, even at the party, they're still being nerdy, but Van, again, he likes taking people under his wing. So he puts a little confidence in him, and then he throws 2 sluts at him and says, like, "Hey, these dorks have big dicks." And apparently it works, because when we see them again later at the end of the movie, these chicks are still hanging out with them.
Yeah, he's like a nice John the Baptist, but for nerds touching boobs.
Exactly.
You know, he's like, and it was foretold, for I will come before to pave the way for you, to make the way ready.
You always appreciate somebody like that. Somebody not to, do anything creepy, get you a hooker, but somebody just like get you over the bump,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I was gonna, did you ever stick up for the nerdy kids for any reason?
Well, I normally was the nerdy kid. I mean, I was small and socially awkward, so that usually leads to getting your ass kicked. Until I got like later in high school, where people just didn't want to mess with me because I knew how to wrestle. That whole like he's gonna take it to the ground, all that BS. There's one time, which my wife hates this story. It was in a Hollister, very 2004 vibes. Hollister at Christmas, and we're buying like clothes. And my old man was there, and he was like, "I'm not standing in that line." The store was full of people, like shoulder to shoulder lines all the way back. It was like the March of the Penguins, but we were buying California themed beachwear. And there's this little tiny kid. He must have been like 100 pounds working over on the other side. And this guy that was like twice his size comes in, grabs him, goes, "Come here, you motherfucker!" It just puts him in a headlock and starts wailing on him.
The fuck?
Just old school bully, like headlock, and just bah, 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 bah. And I'm looking around like, is no one gonna do anything? And it goes on for like 20 seconds. And there's 100 people in this store. And everyone's just looking around like, I'm not giving up my spot in line. All right.
Guys,
look,
listen, I really need these flip-flops. I'm sorry.
I can't get out of line right now because like I got to get my son his clothes so he can pretend he's in the OC when he's trying to hook up with chicks.
California.
Oh yeah, and I eventually was like, "This is too much." I start pushing my way through, and in the back of the store, I see my dad like this look on his face, like, "Fuck it," and he has a cup of black coffee in his hand, and every dad of a certain age just always had ever present. Thrusts it into the guy next to him. Doesn't even look. He lets the guy has it. And we got there at the same time and just tackled the guy and dragged his ass out. And that was about the closest I've ever come to like sticking up for like a nerd, like physically like that.
Was there any instigation of that? Or did he just like, "Hey, little guy, pop, pop, pop"?
I think it was a gay bashing, if I'm being totally honest, but which sucked and whatever. I don't know what happened to either parties. At the end, we bought our sandals and our overly
and that
priced
day,
polo shirts.
Mark Zuckerberg said, "Thank you. I'll remember you in the future."
Oh God, that would have been so great. Just like, I have this thing. I'm going to give you 1 share of stock. Thank you. That would have been good.
Yeah, the only one I could remember. I remember in high school, it was lunch, and there were these. Look, there's still no better term for them. There were these wiggers, and they were throwing food at a large boy. Calling him a large boy, and I started fucking with them because that was the fun thing about those type of guys is they were all fucking talk and bravado, and they would never ever swing. But yeah.
Oh God, I just remembered a good one. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But that's pretty much it. But go ahead.
When I was in boarding school, when I got to like my later years, people really wouldn't fuck with me because it was the height of these are wrestlers going to take it to the ground, and you don't know what happens down there, man. And I had in this school, it was very like service oriented, so like a lot of kids had like periods where they like washed dishes in the kitchens or did this or that. Like acts of service were plugged into your schedule, and we had like advisor groups of like kids of different ages, and it was almost supposed to be like your surrogate sort of family in the school. We had this really like small young kid who just happened to be from Maryland like me, and these older kids would always mess with him. In retrospect, he really deserved it. He was kind of a little shit, but they would take him too far a lot. And I remember they were messing with him while he was on kitchen duty, and people in the kitchen liked me. And I walked back to the guys that were messing with him, and I picked them both up and I threw them into the walk-in freezer and closed the door and fucking locked it and wouldn't let them out. I kept them in there for like not crazy long, but enough where they were like, "Oh fuck."
See, you did make a point back there, which is unfortunately we grew up in the era where like bullying leads to school shooting, which turns out to not have been true ever, even a little bit. But yeah, there were some kids that needed a little bit of like just to like. There's a lot of bullying I recall that was just like, listen, dude, we want to like you, but you need to fucking chill out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, let's keep rolling on this. We're actually going at a pretty good clip. I think I only have 2 more pages and notes. So, yeah, Gwen writes up the story, Van Wilder, party liaison. Unfortunately, it was such a hit, the editor wants her to keep on writing about him.
And he's hurt. He's hurt.
He doesn't want this attention,
as he's been trying to get her to go on a date with him, not sleep with him necessarily, immediately, to go on a date, despite knowing that she's in a very serious relationship.
Yes.
And we kind of look the other way on that one. That's an ethical gray area, I think.
As somebody who has stolen the bulk of his girlfriends from bad relationships they were already in, I'm all about it. Don't mean nothing. Just got a ring. Don't mean nothing.
All's fair in love and
dog balls.
Dog balls. Oh, the dog balls. I remember, not to get to the end, you should see the movie if you're going to listen to this fucking podcast, but
it's currently streaming on Tubi, by the way.
Yeah. I remember seeing that scene with the dog balls gets paid off. You're like, I can't believe they're allowed to put this in a movie. Like it's like they go so far with it.
Yeah, and this isn't like an unrated. Well, then again, this is a movie that did not really live at movie theaters. It was pretty much a big thing of the time was the straight to DVD hit.
Straight to DVD hit, yeah. Well, not even straight to DVD hit, but like in theaters, it did. Like they were designed almost to like, we'll put enough advertising behind it. We'll make the total budget for the movie back in theaters. And then everything after that is just DVD back end gravy. Like that's how Chappelle Show got big. That's how Dave Chappelle made all his money in the beginning. That's how Boondock Saints became a thing. Just people passing around the fucking DVDs.
Which the other thing to mention here, this is like the first National Lampoon movie that got any kind of attention in like 9 years, I think.
Yeah. I remember seeing the like National Lampoon's Van Wilder. I'm like, what the fuck is National Lampoon?
Yeah. I mean, the last one I remember before that, it was not a hit. It was called National Lampoon's Senior Trip. And the only reason nobody saw this movie, but everybody was aware of it, because it was one of 2 trailers on the Dumb and Dumber VHS tape. So you always saw it. And starring a young Jeremy Renner in his first role.
Oh, wow.
I can't unsee it. It's worth watching. It's very dumb, but it's very fun. But before that, they hadn't really had anything since like the vacation movies,
Yeah. And not only that, like after this, they came out with just a million straight to DVD National Lampoon, and then it's just like, I don't know, some average Joe, regular guy, high school student being like, I don't know, and then just a chick with just big fake boobs on the cover, and that was National Lampoon presents Hot Tutor. Yeah, like there were 900 of them after this. It was just them chasing, and they just never could do it.
Van takes Gwen to a hockey rink. The idea here is if she can score on him, she gets her story. If he blocks it, they go on a date. She smokes him because it turns out Gwen has older brothers that play for the New York Rangers.
What a coincidence.
I know.
It's always happened to me.
Gwen analyzes him.
Happened to me a couple times, actually.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's all the time.
You just think... You challenge a girl like, oh, yeah, well, I bet you can't hit a hole in one. I'm like, hey, shows you I've been fucking Tiger Woods. Like, oh,
no, that was like happened to me like 9 times in a row at college parties. Like, if you could take me down, then I don't know, whatever. And the girl's just like, actually, my brother's Cale Sanderson. Woo! Reference that nobody gets.
It's okay. I laughed at the appropriate time, which means
thank you. I appreciate that.
That's as good as getting it.
Yeah.
But young Tara Reid here. There's a little bit before she goes over the edge. She's got that raspy little voice because she's been smoking since she was 13 and climbing in boys' windows after hours.
I would honestly say that if you look back on it and just based on the rasp in her voice compared to American Pie.
Oh, it's not
she's already over. She's over the cliff. But we just haven't noticed she's falling yet.
So it's weird because she's very feminine, but as a result of the raspy voice and like the hockey thing, a little bit of a tomboy quality. Where did you rank on the old tomboys? Did you like him at all?
Big fan. Big fan of him, and yeah, I was on the rugby team in college, and a lot of who we hung out with was the girls' rugby team. So a lot of tomboys, a lot of lesbians.
I was gonna say that there's a reason why I have had several girls. My very first kiss, I was her last man ever because one night with me, and she's like, "Okay, no, it's girls."
Yeah, I had one of them. She was down on the rugby team, but you know.
No, I had one of those when I was 13, and then a recent one when I was 27. Yes,
right, that's a little late for that. That's a little late for that. I'm putting that on her.
Yeah. Oh no, she pretty much told me like, "Hey, remember when I told you I was bisexual? I was half right." She was Puerto Rican. I think she was trying to give heterosexuality like another try for her mom.
Give peace in her house at Thanksgiving a chance.
Exactly. And she married, and it was funny because we were still Facebook friends, and after we broke up, I saw the new girl she was dating and literally looked like could have been my sister.
I was about to say, please tell me redhead. Please tell me
redhead. Yep. Redhead, a little on the husky side, and they got married, so everything worked out.
Chili.
Ooh, all right, I like the chili. Speaking of everything working out, Tech mistakes Taj's penis pump for a bong. Hilarity ensues.
Honestly, the highlight of Tech in this movie. That's really all he did, other than just be in the background going, "Wow, man."
Yeah, you gotta think that they might have given a lot of Tech stuff over to Taj because he doesn't seem to be a good actor, and despite
he's bad.
And honestly, at the time, having one of the biggest name recognition in the movie, he doesn't do a lot. So he might have been that bad an actor that they divvied up some of his parts.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we see Taj and a hot chick with scented candles and massage oil and Barry White. He manages to catch himself on fire in a pretty gnarly special effect because that is bare fucking skin on fire in the movie.
Yeah, that was wild. I also appreciated that he like slides across her back Dukes of Hazzard style after he gets the massage oil on there.
Yeah.
It's getting aggressive. Like that.
We get a disturbing sex scene between Richard and Gwen where he describes the biological processes as he ejaculates. She reiterates.
Yeah, that was so funny. Like that had to be so hard to shoot. And it goes back to like a lot of times for that character in movies where they just tell the guy like, just play it straight.
Right.
This is funny. You just got to say the words and be that exactly right.
Yes, you are fucking, but you're also a med student, so you're studying at the same time what is happening in your body to create jism, while a woman is not. That's the. I will say this about this movie: when it comes to both, maybe it has something to do with Richard. Both Gwen and the nerdy girl he fucks later in the movie seem to be completely incapable of sexual pleasure whatsoever. They just kind of lay there while he ruts on them.
That's the downfall of direction at the time. They weren't thinking about that stuff. They're just like, what? Yeah. Huh? How do you even like begin to conceptualize that? What are we gonna do? Get like a woman in here to like direct this thing? God, there's only one Catherine Bigelow. Like she can't shoot every movie.
All right. Richard finds out Gwen is getting sweet on Van. He enlists the weird girl to write him a fake. This is probably the worst scene in the movie where he tricks him to showing up to Tara Reid's families.
I honestly, the whole time watching this movie, I remember as a kid being like, I dig that weird girl. The weird girl that's always like, anything I can do for you guys? Just very into it. And just like, I wish she and Tara Reid switch places.
Oh, okay. So you like that type a little bit. I can see
that. No,
that.
I don't. I just hate Tara Reid.
Ow. But yeah, the weird thing, like, I know we're gonna have it. He's gonna show up to this dinner party, and she'll see how inappropriate he is. Like, his dad is a very successful man. I'm sure this is not his first time around rich people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also like a classic. Like, actually, they're not as stuffy as you think. Like, it's just classic storytelling. That I mean, it's just it is. It's classic role reversal. Because who's actually being awkward? Pretty sure it's you, Richard.
That's right, Richard. You know, when you point a finger, there are 3 pointing back at you.
That's right.
We also want to talk classic comedy. All the doctors have hilarious names like Dr. Hanky, the proctologist, very timely. Dr. Beaverman, the OBGYN. This is why whoever wrote this got paid the big bucks to steal Bert Kreischer's life story.
It's criminal that they don't make more movies like this.
Oh, so back to what we were saying before, to the tune of a poor Mission Impossible ripoff, the boys decide to get revenge on Richard by, what's going to be a proportional prank. He invited
a proportional
me to
response,
yes, a proportional response to, he invited me to a dinner party thinking I'd be
and
awkward.
I actually had a pretty good time at.
How dare he make me feel uncomfortable for 45 seconds? I know. Let's jerk off your dog into a bunch of sandwiches.
I believe they were eclairs, cream-filled eclairs.
Is that what they were?
Yes, they were. They weren't sandwiches. They were cream-filled eclairs. And then at the end, the balls are small.
Yes. As happens, ladies. If you're not aware, check it out, before and after pics. There's also the great detail of, as they're jerking off the dog, he is looking at Hot Bitches magazine.
That was good. That was classic. That'll be funny forever.
So fun. I remember this in Patton Oswalt's stand-up. He talked about how in Hollywood you could get a job punching up a script, making it funnier. But every now and again, there'd be a weird thing of like, we already shot this footage. Can you write funny lines for people off screen to say?
Oh, wow. That's got to be... Actually, no, that's the best way that I would ever be able to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's like, you've already set it up. I just have to knock it down. Sure, yeah.
And as soon as I heard that joke, I immediately thought of the scene, because while they're all eating the sandwiches, the eclairs, which again, to their credit, they make look pretty delicious, even though we know they're full of dog cum. You hear a voice clearly 80 yards off screen. We never see the character. I think I've had these before.
yeah, that's good. Talking with Jesse. I went over his house the other day. Talk about Van Wilder.
Hi, Andy's wife. I know she can't hear me.
Yeah. Jesse says hi.
Do you think our wives will get along when my wife is not mad at me anymore?
Yeah, I think they would get along.
Cool.
I mean, your wife's about to have a baby. That's like crack to my wife.
All women love her right now.
Yeah, throw that baby on our front doorstep with a note that says we'll be back in 8 hours. That kid's gonna have a great time. My wife's gonna be smiling from ear to ear, bouncing that kid on her knee, playing peekaboo.
Hell yeah! All right, well I'll be sure to.
You know why? You know why? Because my wife, not like Tara Reid.
Yeah, Tara Reid would be, like, you want some of my Virginia Slims.
That's right. Tara Reid, blonde. My wife, a brunette. Tara Reid, no personality. My wife, arguably, a little too much personality. Okay.
Tara Reid could borrow some of hers. She could use it. All right. We get a weird swim team fundraiser. Okay, that is the thing happening in the background. He's doing these parties so both to help people, but also so he can get money to stay in school and pay his tuition. It's an important feature, but it's in the background a lot. We see a fucking fat guy in a Speedo, again, very popular at the time, do a brutal belly flop into a pool.
Still popular to this day.
Never gets old. Just like morbidly obese people, they tend to die young. So Gwen gets into Van's college records, discovered that Van is only 16 credits shy of graduating for 3 years. She really gets into his head that you're afraid of confronting the real world.
She finds out that he's smart.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? What? This is a trope they had a lot back then.
Oh yeah,
like,
party animal,
actually,
heart of gold.
He's really smart, but he's just he doesn't try because it's actually not challenging enough for him. I remember Zach Morris was like that, where the guy was constantly like, "I don't do my homework" on the show, and then he took the SATs and he was like, "What? I got a 1500?" Back when like that was impossible.
Yeah, it was a thing at the time. So Richard approaches Van to set up a bachelor party, which is hilarious because he hasn't proposed to her yet.
That was good.
He proposes to her the next night, but she turns him down. Proposing to your girl out of spite is pretty next level. I will give that to Richard.
Yeah, Richard's great. I'm a fan of Richard.
All right. So Van finds out she's engaged or hears about it. He's bummed out, and a random chick comes in and starts making out with him, as is what happens. Gwen catches him in the act. They argue. She runs away, etc. Okay. Richard comes up with his latest, how am I going to, take care of this no good party animal guy? And him and Weird Girl basically set up, we're going to get a bunch of underage kids to sneak into his party. And get drunk drinking Jägermeister. So here's the thing. I hadn't thought about Jägermeister in a long time. So last week before Christmas, my mother, who has been in recovery for multiple years, calls me up saying, I'm in a liquor store. I want to get something for your aunt's party later, but I haven't drank in so long. What should I get them? And my 57-year-old mother says, should I get for my 56-year-old aunt, should I get him a bottle of Jägermeister? That's kind of festive, isn't it? Like, whoa.
When I was in school, we had the machines. So in our house, we had that on tap. And I remember one time we tried to go through as many bottles as we could the night. I think we went through 17.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yes.
Me and my friends drank it a lot in high school because Metallica liked Jägermeister, and we were fucking nerds.
Yeah, I remember that part of the behind the music.
Yeah.
Has there ever been better product placements? Ever? I'll be done in a second.
We got one page left. Andy's wife, whose name I don't know. I don't need to know. We're recording. Richard gets rejected by Tara Reid. He fucks Awkward Girl instead, who also feels no sexual pleasure and just rambles for the duration. Gwen tries to return the story completed, only to find out that Van has been expelled for the underage, the underage kids. So Taj goes to Van, basically saying, I found a rule that you can appeal the expulsion. And Van tells him, give it up, it's done. And this is where we have that great moment from Taj, where he's been like, no, you helped me. You looked up me. Yeah, you gave me confidence when I didn't need it. You need to stop being a bitch and fight. Taj even makes the point that his partying has done good. He's helped all these people, the nerds. The great quote here is, you have shown me a life that I could have never imagined except for masturbating out back in my father's shed.
Yeah.
Taj rules.
The joys of rural life.
So all the people he's helped now flock to the club to help him. As the song Roll On by Living End plays. Just wanted to hit real quick. This movie has a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it does. I hadn't heard that song in forever. It's good.
Oh, yeah. Very good. We also get Jimmy Eat World's Bleed American, Sugar Cult's Bouncing Off the Walls, Sum 41, American Hi-Fi. Just great, weird under-the-radar bands of the era. So he has an appeal to meet the deans. It's time for him to leave. He's asked, let me leave with honor and graduate. I'll be gone anyway. He credits Gwen as telling him the truth that he was hiding from the world by not... This movie is like really classic with like the beats it hits of like very much like the hero's journey.
In the bathroom, in the cabinet, on the second shelf is the nail polish pad, and in that is
all right, yeah.
What's this about the nail polish?
It's we were getting the nail polish bag.
The teacher that he banged earlier in the movie is also on the board. So yeah, we get the whole thing. Van must prove himself and graduate. The board barely splits to let him do that. The dean from Breakfast Club, who's been a jerk to him, has said, like, you know what? We see it earlier in the movie where he's like, you got an A in my freshman year. I know you're not this stupid dickhead. So he takes this opportunity to be like, yeah, let him try.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
And that's also good teaching.
It is. That is a good teacher. The last third of this movie can basically be called, hey, remember Billy Madison? As
they're like racing to get to the end. Like, we're filling time, but also we could just as quickly as possible get to the part where they're gonna kiss. Yeah. So we can like get the full thing. And then his dad comes back and he's like, proud of you. He's like, I got the girl. Dad's proud. And then I don't know. What does he have? Like a successful party planning business after that?
Actually, they don't do any kind of epilogue. I do find it funny that in this meeting, we finally found out that his major is leisure studies.
Yeah, leisure studies.
Gwen breaks up with Richard, but not before giving him a smoothie of colon blow. So, of course, he will be shitting his pants during finals. Quick question. Is the...
No, I just brought the whole thing. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I was gonna say, in all these movies, they always show people like losing their mind before finals and crunching. Is that actually a thing? Because based on these movies, it really seems like if this was the method people took, 75% of people would fail finals.
It never happened to me. Oh, that's not true. I freaked out a couple times, mostly because I was just lazy. Yeah, it definitely happened to people. Especially if you're like a challenging major, like biology was a very difficult major at my school, and everyone came in like, we're going to be doctors, so we're going to take biology, and then like maybe, I mean, that was like 60% of the freshman class, and then maybe by the end of the second semester it was down to like 10%.
Jesus.
And people were like losing their minds for exams because it was that hard. So it did happen.
Okay. So yeah, we get the final scene. He's weirdly enough, we don't get the graduation, which you would think would be a natural place to have this. But yeah, he has a party. His dad calls him the best investment I ever made. After all this sweetness, we get a really weird, raunchy end. Gwen shows up in a hot bikini, showcasing her long torso, which
very long torso.
Long torsos are undersold in women. I've always found them kind of hot, but
I don't like it at all. You know, didn't have a long torso. The girl that Richard did the thing with.
She did not have a long torso. No. We get this weird exchange of Van saying, "I was worried you wouldn't come. I couldn't decide what panties I wanted to wear. What did you choose? None." Which, despite wearing a skirt so short that you could be able to see the lip at 50 yards, but okay.
Yeah, see, she's not such a stuck-up little snooty or whatever. Yeah, I just didn't care for her at all.
Yeah, they had to over-sexualize her to make up for that sports dominance earlier in the movie. But yeah, so that's basically it. We get the Bleacher Report. Van makes that Bleacher Report, the blooper reel. What the fuck am I thinking? Van makes out with the old lady teacher. We get a lot of gay panic moments with Richard. We get to see Sook Me. There's a very cute moment where Ryan Reynolds is sleeping on the couch, cuddling with the dog balls as a pillow. And we get to see Tech jerking off dogs, which is what we all paid our $8.99 at Walmart for this DVD.
Yeah, I mean, that's good, clean American fun right there.
Exactly. So overall, this movie, would you say it holds up?
Yes and no. I mean, the writing's good enough, so the general beats are really good, and it's really well constructed for schlocky bullshit. But I mean, like the Taj voice.
Something you can say, as opposed to a lot of movies at the time, is the protagonist is a pretty good guy, even with you know, all things considered. You could tweak a few things in the presentation, and this would still be a good movie today.
Yeah, I think it's still a good movie today, but it's also like it was just at like a point where it's like technology, like Seinfeld looks like a million years ago now, but it's also like, well, it's the time before cell phones and the internet, and this is like in the middle point, so it actually feels even more wild to me as you watch it.
I'm trying to remember, does anybody have a cell phone in this movie?
Gwen does.
Okay. All right. Well, shit. I think that is it for Van Wilder. Andy, thank you for doing this, especially when, you know, you have other things to be doing, like stirring the chili. I'm glad we finally got around to this. I've been putting it off for a while.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun, but excuse me, I gotta go. I got to serve up chili to wife.
All right, real quick, anything you have to promote? Where can we find you on social
media? The Andy Lame. That's Lame, not Lame, on Instagram, and that's about it. And then I don't know if I'm canceling all my dates coming up because I got a work thing, but I think I'm at Off the Leash Comedy at Fergie's on the 12th of January.
Cool. Yeah, I still have no idea if my shows are getting canceled or not because of the whole COVID thing.
We're all in the same boat, man.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, thank you for doing that. Go enjoy your chili. You've been listening to the Why I Aughta, why the early aughts was totally not gay, a Kill Your Gods podcast. All right. See you later, Andy.
See you
Later, bro.